All right. Welcome, everybody, and thanks for making the time, regardless of what time it is. I know for the few people in Australia who are watching, which is where I'm from, well done on staying up until 2 a.m. to watch this. And everybody else, welcome. So today, we're going to be talking about automating deployments with VSTS and Octopus Deploy. So the focus for today's session is really about integrating the two tools together. And to help me do that, I'm joined by Brian Randall, who you might have heard if you were on a few minutes ago. Hey, Brian.
Hello, hello, hello.
There we go. You're on the other side of Northern America from me, aren't you?
I am. I'm over on the West Coast, just outside Los Angeles.
Awesome. And I'm in Toronto at the moment, despite the accent. So we're both in the good time zone for having a chat about this and for capturing everybody in America. So it's good. All right. Well, just while we're getting into the intro part, I'm going to start a couple of polls for the people who are online. We just want to know a little bit about whether you're using Octopus and VSTS or one or the other. So I'm just going to launch a couple of those. Just while we're going, actually it's covering up everything else, so I'm just going to wait until those are done. So vote to streaming in, which is good. So basically, yeah, the purpose of this session is really just to talk about the integration between the two of them. So if you're already using VSTS, why it might be useful to use Octopus Deploy as part of your deployment automation process, and then vice versa as well. If you're using Octopus, why VSTS is actually a really good build tool as well. So we'll just kill that poll. We've got most people voted, I think. I'm going to let it go up to 75% of people. So it seems, just for interest's sake, it seems like most of the people on the call either use both or they use TFS rather than VSTS. So this might be an opportunity, Brian, to have a chat about why the cloud is a good option too.
Absolutely.
So we'll just kick this one off, and the last question as well is a very easy one about whether you're using Octopus at all. So that should give us a bit of an indication. My guess, before the numbers come in too much, is that most people are using Octopus, I guess, because you probably wouldn't have heard about this webinar otherwise. So, and it looks like that's about the case. So about 85% of people are using Octopus at the moment. Only a couple are unsure, which is probably good. All right. That's enough of that. That's enough data gathering. Now it's time to share some stuff as well. So let's kill those. So that's the results from the first one. Sorry, the second one. And then just in case you're interested, some results from there, whether people are using VSTS or TFS. All right. So just to start as well, it's worth mentioning a couple of things about Brian. Most of you, especially if you're in the .NET and Microsoft ecosystem, you probably might have heard of Brian before. He's a developer, speaker, author, technologist, and a partner with MCW Technologies. And as you heard, based out of just outside LA, I believe. He's been a Microsoft MVP for 13 years, which is extremely impressive. And you can hit him up on Twitter there. Do you use Twitter much, Brian?
Yeah, it's a habit. It's on my phone, and so it's something I do a lot. Waiting in line and things like that. And then, so that's probably the quickest way to get my attention. I probably get way too much email, but I do check my inbox too, and you can find that on the web too. I'm easy to find via Google.
Awesome. So that's Brian. And then just a quick one about me. I have all of the same things, except I took away technologist because I didn't really know what that meant. So developer, speaker, I work for Octopus Deploy. I'm a solution architect, but I do a lot of community stuff as well. So things like these webinars and other sessions at conferences around the place too. I've only been an MVP for 4 years, which has been really fun actually, and great access to people. And that's me on Twitter as well, so you can get hold of me that way. So as a general agenda of what we're going to do, and this is going to be fairly informal, we're going to go through these mainly by way of demonstration. I think Brian's got some demos set up. We're going to talk about just briefly where Octopus fits in the DevOps kind of life cycle. We're going to look at how you install the extension, how you connect to Octopus. Then we're going to look at setting up your build configuration and how to get that working, and then using the Octopus build tasks that come with the Octopus extension. We're going to have a really brief discussion on release notes, and then there's one more feature in the extension which we released just the other day, which is pretty cool, I think, which we'll show you as well. And of course, there'll be plenty of time for questions too. So in GoToWebinar, I believe you can ask questions, and you can also use the chat. And I'll be monitoring them on the way through as well. So that's what we're going to talk about. So let's talk a little bit about where Octopus fits in this pipeline, and also where VSTS fits. So this is the slide that I usually show people when I talk about the pipeline with Octopus, especially with VSTS as well. And you'll notice a nice shiny logo that's got an update right at the start there. So the general process for developers, they use VSTS and VS to work on their code, commit and push it, and then there'll be a build process. The outcome of that build process, as we'll see, what we really want is a package, a version of your application that you can tell, that you can give to Octopus and say, this is version X of my project. And then Octopus can manage the deployment of that package to test and to production, to whichever other environments you need it to go to. So we're really going to try and work through this a bit today, setting up the build, pushing it to Octopus, creating a release in Octopus, which is basically a snapshot of not just the artifacts that you want to deploy, but the process you want to go through to deploy the application. And then we're going to get it to deploy to a test or to a dev environment. And then normally you deploy to production, I think, but we'll skip that because what we really want to focus on is the middle of this, the integration between VSTS and Octopus. So with that, that's really just a discussion of where Octopus fits. What I might do is I might hand over to you, Brian. We can start on really just where we, what we need to do, I suppose, and what, how to get started would be the way to go. Now, I've just realized that when I go to set a new presenter, I have every single person who's on this call, so that makes it difficult to find. There we go.
And I am now sharing. So hopefully you will be seeing a lovely Windows 10 desktop. So let's make sure that happens.
Awesome. Well, I can see that now.
All right. So when Damien and I were talking about this, it was kind of like, okay, where's going to be the confusion point? You might know VSTS or TFS, you might know Octopus. It's really that bridge, and how do we get them together? So one of the great things about both the latest versions of TFS, TFS 2017 Update 1 on premises, as well as Visual Studio Team Services in the cloud, aka VSTS, is that we can do so much via the web browser. What you'll see right here is that I'm at the home page of one of my accounts called MCW Lab. For those of you on premises, this is just more equivalent to a server. Ignore collections and all that other hoo-ha. And what I've already done is I've created a team project called Octodemo. And if I click that link, we get this new starting point experience, this kind of home page that shows you what you should be doing. And notice right away they're doing the right thing, encouraging us to use continuous integration. So a couple of things I did to get started, right? Let's do some level set. There's a account here. There's a team project. Great. I've got some code. If we click on the code link, you'll see I'm using a Git repo. Everything I'm doing here today would work with TFVC if you're using that, so no stress there. And I've built just the bog standard ASP.NET website with some unit tests, so nothing fancy. But I've also gone and set up my backlog. If you'll take a look here, I have a PBI, Demo VSTS and Octopus Deploy. You'll see I've already added code to VSTS, so that first task. And I got this other one here, 56, that I'm going to drag in progress. So this is going to be what I'm going to use to track my work and help me create traceability between my code changes, my builds, and then ultimately my releases. Now, naturally, I've got an Octopus Deploy installed. And this is what's really awesome. I've got this running locally here in my office. I've got my own domain. I've got my Octo server here. I've even got a local IS installation running on Server 2016. And what I'm able to do is I'm going to be able to link the two together and do internal deployments. I think that's one of the powerful things about Octopus Deploy, in that I can federate it with both TFS, VSTS, or any other installations, and I really can use it as a central management hub for deploying all types of different applications. Naturally, people ask you, well, release management is included with VSTS, and that's absolutely correct. But once again, depending upon how you're doing things, you might find that Octopus provides more flexibility depending upon the types of things you're deploying. Excuse me. And I think that's one of the big things to consider. VSTS in particular today is really exceptionally optimized for working with Azure. If you're working with Azure, that may be all you need. But if you have a mix of hybrid solutions, on-prem, different clouds besides Azure, you might find more flexibility in the way Octopus works. And in fact, there's just a lot of goodness that you'll find buried inside the product. So if we look at VSTS up here, I've got my work that I've defined, I've got my code. Let's go back to that home page. And what you'll see there is I even wrote some notes in my README to talk about what we need to do. So you need a team project. We've got that. I've got some work items. Got that. We pushed some code. Did that. Now you notice there's this thing for defining a build. Now, there's two things, though, that you're going to need to do to your VSTS account and then to your team project in order to talk to Octopus Deploy. Step one is you need to go to the marketplace. So we're going to go over here and browse that real quick. And if you go to the marketplace and search for Octo, you will find one nice entry, the Octopus Deploy integration. And if you take a look here, there's a couple choices, install and download. Now, for VSTS, it's really simple. You click install. It's going to ask you what account, and assuming you have the rights to do it, it'll install. If you don't have the rights, it'll send a request to your administrator. Once you've done that, that'll put all the Octopus Deploy bits into your account and make them available on a team project by team project basis. So that's something I've already done. Now, step two is whenever you want to talk to an external service, whether it be Azure, whether it be Octopus Deploy, whether it be GitHub or anything else, and you want to talk to it from VSTS and go make outbound calls, we have to make what's called a service connection. And if you go to the cog menu right up here, you'll see there's a link here for services. Now when I click this, you'll see I've already got one in here called Octo Demo Domain. Okay? And the way I did that was I simply clicked the drop down here and selected Octopus Deploy. If you don't see that on your list, that means you did not go to the marketplace and install the Octopus extensions. So that's your kind of keys to the kingdom. Once you do that, you need three simple questions. Number one, what do you want to call this? Two, where is your Octopus Deploy server located? And naturally, this is going to have to be accessible from the internet into wherever your server is hosted, whether it be a cloud provider like Azure, or in my case, it's on premises. And finally, you need your unique API key. So you'll need to go into Octopus and set that up.
So Brian,
yeah.
Sorry, just to interrupt for a sec. So that server URL there, yes, you're right. That needs to be accessible from VSTS, so over the internet. The reason I'm raising this is there was a question on GoToWebinar about that security. There are some things you can do, and I'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to the build steps, but there are some things you can do from inside your firewall as well. So Octopus just needs to be able to, so you just need to be able to connect to Octopus from your build agent. So if the build agent is behind a firewall and it can talk to VSTS, then that build agent can communicate with Octopus via an internal URL there. So that could be a local host or an internal domain. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
The only thing you're not going to get, though, is there's some niceties around the UI in VSTS, and to get those niceties, VSTS needs to be able to talk to Octopus. So those will disappear. That just means you have to do a little bit more typing, but we can look at that later.
Yeah, I like making it accessible just because it gives me a fluid experience. Naturally, there's security concerns, and you'll have to weigh those with that. And that's probably a good little quick segue before we go much further is, why VSTS over TFS on-prem? Well, the number one reason is I love that I don't have to do the care and feeding of my TFS server. You know, I talk to people through the years. I've done hundreds of TFS installations from TFS 2005 all the way up to 2017. And once you get the install done, it's like, yeah, you start using it. And then the question is, are you doing backups? Well, backups aren't interesting. What's really sexy is restores. When was the last time you properly tested your disaster recovery? And so if you're doing that, that's one of the reasons why moving some of this to the cloud can be really effective, is you take that extra headache away. But once again, the downside is you do lose some of that control over when you do upgrades, migrations, how things are configured, and ultimately you might have resources that aren't accessible. So those are things to consider for sure. Now, I did this already. As you can see here, I have Octodemo domain. So those two things are set up, and I can go back to the actual process of getting set up with a build. So let's go back here, and you'll note that they have this option to dump us right into the build screen. So if I say set a build, it's going to prompt me with a new build definition. Now, just as an FYI, behind the scenes here, I'm going to click cancel, you'll see that there's this new build editor experience. Try it now. Do it. It's great. It's wonderful. This is a preview release, and Microsoft is being more flexible in how they give us these new features. For years, I've been using VSTS, and every time something new comes out, it just kind of gets dropped in my account. Well, they've done some new stuff there where they're letting you see how the new UI might work while not affecting your old experience. This is particularly important when you're trying to learn and you're looking at documentation and the documentation doesn't match the screen. So we're going to stick to the current, what I'll put in air quotes, shipping version, understanding that you could use the new functionality there. But we'll say new definition, and we'll pick Visual Studio because I'm using Visual Studio 2015 and I'm building a website. Now, the first thing it does, it says, hey, where are we going to get your source code from? And you'll note that by default, it's selected my Octodemo team project with my Octodemo repository off of my master branch. You'll note, though, that you can get your code from a lot of different places, including GitHub and Subversion repos. Now, I'm going to leave this the way it is, and I'm going to check continuous integration, because what I want to do is, once this build is kicked off, or once I commit code, I want the build to kick off automatically. So we'll hit create. And now what's going to happen is Microsoft's going to pick some default build tasks that we need. So build tasks are self-contained units that you order into steps that do different things for you. So you'll notice we're doing a NuGet restore. Then we're going to build the solution. We're going to run our unit tests. Then we can publish symbols, copy files, and publish the artifacts. So first of all, I'm going to do some cleanup here because we're going to hook this into Octopus. So I'm going to get rid of this publish step, the copy files, and this publish symbols. And I'm going to start with just these core settings here. Now the first thing I want to do is point to my SLN. So we'll drill down into here through the picker and pick my solution. Now we're good to go there. And then we're going to go to the build step and we're going to copy that over. Now one of the things I'm going to do here is change this version to be 2015. And if we look at the rest of the settings, I'm pretty happy, although I'd like to enable code coverage. So that's kind of...
Sorry, just a quick question, Brian. You're building a whole solution here. Is it pretty straightforward to just build individual projects and things like that?
Yeah, so one of the things with Visual Studio Solutions in particular is that you got this access to the magic that is MS Build arguments. All right, and so what we're able to do here is we can specify an individual project. In fact, I'm going to do that in a second because, once again, there's different styles that how people like to do this. In particular, if you're using pull requests and how you're doing builds, at the end of the day, we always want some kind of sanity check, right? The whole point of having these builds is to take the gifts that a developer is giving the team and make sure that they haven't given us something bogus, right? Is to make sure that it is a healthy item. With the proper pull request setup, what we do is we'd be using feature branches, maybe some kind of Git flow strategy, and I'd have the CI build do something just what we see here, just build it and be done. The next step then is, though we want to deploy, we're going to need some kind of output. We're going to need some packages. And what I like to do often is do a rebuild before I create the packages and run my unit tests again. Just do that last extra sanity check. And then do any additional steps that are necessary to create the packages the way I want them. For example, if I was using MS Deploy, which please don't make me do it, Damien, can I use Octopus instead? Yes, okay. With MS Deploy, you pass a number of magic incantations to the command line. You end up with this zip file that MS Deploy understands. And that's somewhat orthogonal to what you need output typically for doing your build. So what I like to do is step one is make sure that what I have is still good. Okay, once I have that, then I can start tweaking and add the extra parts I need. So let's just save this as our baseline, and we'll call this CI build. Now, when you go to build, one of the things you have to do is specify where you want this to build. Now, if I go over here to the General tab, you'll notice there's a default agent queue. Now, the default is it's going to run on the hosted server up in the cloud. And what I'm going to do is click the drop-down, and I've got a number of options here available to me. What I want to do is pick private, because I've got a private build agent that will run faster than the hosted server service, and it's something that I maintain and can control exactly what I want. Once again, this is another kind of call area to why you use Octopus Deploy. It's when you need total control over the environments and machines. Private build servers give you that extra speed and extra control. I can use SSDs, I can use more cores, etc. Now, once I've done that, I'm going to come over here to triggers. That looks good. But then there's this other feature here called variables. And variables are things that we can use as data and metadata we want made available to our tasks. Now, one of the things we need to do when I publish to Octopus is I need to give it a semver value for my package. So I'm going to add a variable here. We'll just call this octo version. And this is just a quick and lazy way to do this. I'm going to basically take my build number and just add a .0 to the end. We could actually probably spend an hour talking about versioning and all that, and once again, that's just going way off road here. So I'm taking build .build number, which is a built-in variable available. And in fact, if we come back over here to general, you'll see you can control the build number format if you want to mess with that. I'm just going to leave the default the way it is. So I've got this extra variable now, and now if I go back to the build definition, I'm going to add some extra steps that we need to do here. The first thing I need to do is I need to build the project in such a way that I get the output laid out so I can put it into my Octopus package. So we're going to come over here and add a build step. And we're going to come over here to build, and we're going to pick that Visual Studio build task again. In addition, because I'm using Visual Studio 2015 in conjunction with a web project built under 4.62, Roslin's involved. And because Roslin's involved, there's this extra folder, and I'm not going to point fingers, but to me it seems like it's a little regression of the way Microsoft is making the old web projects work with the new versions. We basically have to do an extra step to copy an extra folder into the right place. So I'm going to come down here and grab the copy files task. Now let's start with those. Yep.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
While you're doing that, we've had a couple of questions about different types of projects. Obviously, you're building an app, like a 4.51 or something. Is that right?
4.62. So if we come over here to Visual Studio, I did File, New Project.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using 4.62 with an ASP.NET framework. So I'm not doing .NET Core or anything like that. I'm doing what I consider, what I'd say, mainstream development at this point.
Yeah. So if you were doing a .NET Core project, that would basically just mean your build is going to be different, right? The build steps are going to be...
That is correct. I would be using different builds. And in fact, when we look at the build step, right, that's one of the awesome things about both TFS 2017's team build as well as VSTS build in the cloud is Microsoft will build anything. I mean, you know, if you can access it from a command line, you can get to it. I mean, even Xcode running on Mac, if you can set up a Mac, you're good to go.
Yeah. I think the very first one was .NET Core, wasn't it? There we go.
Look at that, and it's a magic preview. I always forget because I'm an MVP, I have access to early things before they actually are shown to the public, so I'm always wondering what will I see in this list. MCW Lab is a bog standard account just like you can create yourself. So yeah, yep. It's now in preview.
Cool.
No worries. Yeah, you gotta stop me. I can get going. I love to talk. It's one of those things. So we're gonna go up here. We're gonna grab this SLN again, and we're gonna pop it into the folder. And just because I'm OCD, I'm going to grab these variables here because typing, that's for people that are challenged, and that's me. So we're going to paste, and we'll copy that configuration, and we're going to do one more step, which is change this to 2015. Okay, so this looks pretty good, but now, as I mentioned, we've already done a full build. We've done it, let it run our unit tests. What I now just want is the output for the website to be packaged up. And this is something you might run into when you have really large solutions, but you need to do complex deployments like, say, a database, web service, etc. In fact, we have a service we run that does exactly that. We have different steps where we grab different types of packages. And one of the ways you do this is with the msbuild/t switch. So we basically just do a /t colon, and what we do is just specify the name of our project, which happens to be the same as the solution. So Octo Demo Web. Then what we want to do is tell it to put everything in just one nice folder for us. So we'll do the /p colon, and we're going to do the outdir equals, and then we need, once again, one of those magic little built-in variables called the build artifact staging directory, and then we're putting in a subfolder in it called /build. So this says the /t is to build just the web project, and then the build artifact staging directory is a location on the agent where it will put the files as part of the compilation. Now at this point, we now need to do this extra little step that hopefully it will go away once we spend more time with either .NET Core or 2017. We won't see this problem. What we want to do is take that exact folder that we did the output to, so you'll see staging directory, build, and we're going to get this extra subfolder, Roslyn. And we're going to tell it to copy all the contents, and then we're going to put this in a new folder that we'll be able to reach up to and grab via Octopus. And so this long little thing that I've pasted in here, you'll see is the build artifacts, build, and then notice I've created a separate folder called publish websites. And what I'm going to do here is change the web project name to Octo Demo Web. And we'll do bin/Roslyn. So that'll kind of get everything set up the way we want. Once again, this is a side effect of me using the latest 4.6.2 and the way Microsoft creates the bin folder structure. The /p out doesn't pick up the Roslyn folder in the right place, and when you go to run your website, you'll basically get an error. So this is just basically getting around one of the little problem zones in the product. All right, so now at this point we've done restore, build, and test. Now it's build to create the structure we need. Now we're able to use the Octopus stuff. So we're going to come back over here to add a build step, and we need to package this up for Octopus. So we'll come over here, and there is a nice package application task that we're going to grab. And we also want to be able to push this to Octopus. So we'll close those. And now it's a matter of setting this up. So we're going to give this a package ID. So we'll call this live demo. And we're going to use the new package format. Now, remember I created that variable earlier called Octo version. And now, where are we getting our data from? Well, we've got that data that we put up here. So we want to copy this string right here, and we'll put that in the source. And then the output location is going to be a packages folder.
So it's probably worth expanding on this a little bit. So this step is just a package step. So all it's really doing is saying, have a look in this folder here and turn that into a package. That's correct?
Absolutely.
Yep.
And this package is just the standard distribution format that Octopus supports, right?
Yep, it is. So one of the other things you can do, which I don't think we're doing in this demo, but you can use Octopack for this kind of thing as well, in which case that gives you the ability to use another MS build argument and then lets the Octopack tool create the package for you.
Yeah,
so
but
that's one other way.
That's command line incantations and voodoo. Come on, you made a nice, pretty GUI for me. It's nice and neat and tight up. But yes, Damien is actually, you're 100% correct there. And Octopack's been around for a while, so if you're used to Octopack, you can use that also. Absolutely.
My personal opinion is I prefer using this package step because it means that when you do your build, you end up with all the artifacts you want to deploy in one folder, and so then you're just saying zip up that folder. Whereas with Octopack, if you change to .NET Core or something like that, and now your build has a .NET whatever, .NET Deploy or something like that. I can't remember. I'm not a .NET Core guy. You end up with the artifacts in one folder, and then you just need to tell your package step, oh well, they live there now. Yep.
Yeah, and the way I'm doing this is probably just the way I do things. You could break this down and do it in one step. Once again, some people don't rerun their unit tests as part of their packaging builds, as an example. The other thing
Yep.
I will point out, like we have a very complex solution that has, God, we up to, I think, 55 individual projects.
Mm-hmm.
And so because we have, it just like with real software, it's not always the latest version. We've got a variety of versions. Sometimes the standard build doesn't work the way we want to. And so we will do individual builds to get the packages the way we want them just right. Because when you do the /T, you can combine multiple projects together. You don't have to just build one at a time. You can do like 4 or 5, get all the dependencies the way you want, etc.
Yeah. One person just pointed out as well that the source path, you might have gone a bit far. There's a bin folder in there as well, I think. Oh, sorry, you've got a bin folder, but we only need.
Did I go too far? I think I probably went too far. It's probably the habit of clipboard inheritance. Yeah, we don't need that. Thank you, whoever's paying attention.
Glad they
awesome.
were. That wasn't.
That's okay, because broken builds are the reality of life, and we'd have to fix it. But we'll see how much time we have before we break it. Let's get it working first.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got our copy files. We packaged it up. Now we're going to push this over to Octopus. And so if we click the drop down here, there's my Octopus server. And then we want to do is basically tell it to go get the NuGet package that we've generated. So we'll paste that there. And let's see, anything advanced, we don't want to do any additional arguments. We're pretty happy with that. I think it's time to do a save. Added Octopus package and push. And of course, in case you've never seen it, one of the great things about VSTS's build and team build starting with 2015 is that we have version history, and I can come in here and diff this and see exactly what I mucked with in case I totally blow something. So you can see all that great stuff that we did there. All right, well, let's just double check, make sure I did what I want. I'm using my private build server. And in fact, let's just make sure the build server is ready for me to go to town. So we'll come over here and open this up. And what we'll see here is my different queues. Private's got a green light, so this is a Windows 10 build server I set up. And I don't know, should we go for broke, Damien? Should I actually make a change to the website and see if this actually packages up?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right. So over here in Visual Studio 2015, and we'll come over to Views and go to my index, and we'll update the Jumbotron. I'll change this to Octopus Deploy Demo. Please work. And we're going to come over here and we're going to commit this. Update main index. And one of the things I like to do is link work items. Now you can add the number by hand if you know it, or if you click this drop down, you can set up a work item query that shows you your tasks that are in progress, and then you can just drag and drop that over here. Obviously with low numbers like 56, not that hard to remember, but when you start getting into the thousands and tens of thousands, it might be hard to remember. So we'll commit my changes locally. I'm the only one doing this, so I could have just commit and push, but I like to be a little more proper about it. So we'll push that up. And now if we go back to our web browser and go to build definitions, what we'll see is that we have a build running right there. And we can admire its beauty as it runs. And waiting to talk to the build server. And there it is, it's downloading files and getting good to go.
So this is one of the awesome things with the VSTS build I found. They basically just dump all of the logs of everything that's happening straight to the browser. So whether it's a hosted one or an on-prem one, you can see everything that's happening, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, they've done a really good job. I have to say the team really delivered here, and especially if you think about starting in 2005 with the pure MS build-based version, and then they made it a little better in 2008. Then in 2010, we thought we did the right thing by encouraging them. Oh, I made something blow up. Awesome! This is great. Octo Demo Web does not exist in the project. Sweet.
That'd be because it's Octo Demo Web 15.
Sweet. Okay, well, look, here's a failed build. And in fact, if we go to my project homepage, it's going to tell me that. As we see here, oh, just that horrible red, that feeling of failure. Oh, God. Okay, well, let's go fix that. Right, so we'll go over to the builds, and we're going to edit this definition. And that's great. Love it. And we'll come over here, and I left the 15 off. So much for people paying attention. Wah, wah. Just kidding.
I only catch so many of your errors.
Fix build error caused by LNBK. You got that? You know that acronym?
No, I don't.
Loosen up behind the keyboard. That's me.
Right.
All right. So let's kick that puppy up. Thankfully, we don't have to wait for another agent in the pool. And we'll just kick that off. All right, get done some downloading of stuff, so that'll go a lot quicker. Running our unit tests again. All right, I'm drinking my coffee one week. There we go. Built, copy, package, push. Almost there.
Oh, excellent. This is the way that these build definitions work, right? You get them right. Watch the green ticks until you hit a red cross, and then fix that one, and then go to the next one, right?
So here's our Octopus way.
So just before you do this, we were pushing this package, weren't we? Yep.
Yep. So we only pushed it. We didn't do it. We didn't actually deploy it yet.
Yep. So in Octopus, you can see that package if you go to the library tab, I think.
Let's go to library. And there it is, live demo.
Sweet. You might have noticed that we had a couple of trials before this.
Oh, come on. Practicing? Did we practice? Yes, we did. All right, so there's a go. So at this point, we've got this package shipped to us from build. So the build has this nice build report showing our test results, code coverage, associated changes, and our associated work items. So let's see if we can deploy this locally, and then I think the next thing to do is show that not only can we do it obviously all from Octopus, but we can actually have the build kind of do the last mile for us. So if we come over here to our dashboard, let's steal this existing one, let's go modify our process. So you'll see we've got one deployment step, which is make it happen, and this is deployed to an IS website. So we're going to come over here. Do you mind if I edit this? Because we had demo pack, which was a demo I did with Demium. And we'll come over here and we'll call this live demo. Pick that one. And we're doing an IS website. And we'll call this Octo Live.
We had a suggestion. Somebody said you should have just cloned it, but too late now. Anyway.
Oh, too late. I'm just going to party all over it. Edit. And I'm going to put this. You know what? I think we should go. No, we'll do. You got a favorite number? 32670. That's a good port number. I like that. We'll save that. All right. This is all good. Anonymous is enabled. So we'll save that. All right. You ready? Create a release.
Ready. All right.
Awesome. We'll save that, and let's deploy to the dev server. Acquire packages.
So that web server was running, it had a version before you changed, didn't it? Yep.
This is a brand new, I did a completely brand new application, everything, and that's what's awesome about you guys, because compared to the Microsoft does have a task for talking to IS from Team Build and release management, but it requires you to get WebRM set up and all this stuff, and that's where the tentacle model really is nice, because you get a tentacle set up and it just can party on the machine the way you want. It makes it really easy, particularly if you do more than just a few things, right? That's one of the frustrating parts, I think, about Microsoft's model, in that they're not providing the tentacle style option. And so you have to get all the remote Voodoo working. So you have to get WebWare certificates, etc. Whereas with Octopus, all I do is get the tentacle on there, and I can do all sorts of things to the machine via Octopus Deploy. So I've got the machine. It's called Web Server. Creative name there. And we did, this was the port number. There we go. Access denied. Uh-oh.
Ah. I think we hit this one before, and that was it the...
Oh, I thought we set it on this access to allowed. Let's go take a look at this.
It wouldn't be a real demo if it worked first go.
Oh, come on, that'd be like crazy. We did that. We set that. Machine basic authentication, anonymous authentication. Well, let's do this. Let's just make sure that. So I'll log on to my domains. This is my local Octopus domain.
So this is when I run demos, Brian. This is one problem I don't have because I don't do domains and I don't do other machines. I always do everything locally because I'm way too scared of this stuff.
It's more fun this way.
It's more fun. Yeah.
Okay, so did we get? We had this problem yesterday.
We did. Did we get the right folder? So, just to summarize, the package that we've turned into a NuGet package with that package command should have been.
Oh, there's a problem.
Just the bin.
It's because I didn't get all the extra files. We have no web server files. So this is a Brian cribbing from his notes failure. Okay, so let's go over here to the build. This is awesome.
All right.
This is the problem with Roslyn. That little extra thing by doing 462 really has put a cramp in the Okay, so let's make sure that is fine. And then if we look at our published websites, it's because I only copied the Roslyn folder. I wasn't paying attention.
There we go.
Oh no, we do need the Roslyn folder. Do we not copy the build-up?
That's the copy files. So we copied that to bin Roslyn. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just make sure. Let's take a look here. So I'm just checking, make sure we did these correct. There's the build. There's the test. Okay, then we put the output for the deployment artifacts in the build staging build folder. Build staging build folder, that's all copacetic. Copy files. And then this is the one that is probably. Oh, look, we screwed up right there. It's lacking the right folder number. See that right there? Lacking the 15 again, because it's Octodemo Web 15. So if we paid attention and looked at the build, we'd probably see that that didn't copy correctly.
Got it. That makes sense.
Well, we'll prove that it makes sense by saving. This is version 2 of the LMBK.
This is one of the people has mentioned it's always the build that goes wrong, and I think it's because I find that because I know Octopus very well, but the actual building of the tasks, that's the bit that I struggle with. I'm sure for other people, getting the build right is trivial, and then the actual deployment is the problem.
Yeah, and in fact, if we'd have looked at our build, one of the things in the output, you can see that we did this, but we didn't save the artifacts. That's the other thing we skipped because we don't need them, right? Because we're sending them to Octopus, so I wasn't paying attention to exactly what happened there. So if we look at copy files, that's a few. Oh, see, that's just copying the Roslyn folder.
But that's okay. That's just the copying files.
Yep. And then package is doing the package. So there we go. Let it catch up. All right, so let's go back over here and let's create a release. This will work really. And save. Deploy. Deploy now. And the step is going to make it happen.
And it will really make it happen again.
Sweet.
Different error. Let's have a quick look at what's in that folder.
Much better.
Looks good.
But look what's missing. We lost the Roslyn folder.
Does the copy step have the number of the build project?
It's possible I screwed that up. Let me get out of here.
Roslyn. So the copying files.
Yeah, so copy files is copy Roslyn.
Target folder Octodemo Web, not Octodemo Web 15.
that serves me right for using the 15 multiple times, huh?
Yep. So how about let's add the other steps because we're running short of time.
I think we
let's
should
just do a whole. Yeah.
Let's just deploy all the way from here.
So this is what we were going to get to.
Yeah, we're almost there. That's good.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to come over here and do create an Octopus release, and we're going to deploy. And so we'll pick our server.
So these are some more tasks that are added by that extension.
And let's include all of our comments and our change sets. Okay, and we'll pick the server, pick the project, and we're going to deploy to the dev server. All right. Add Octo, release, and deploy. Queue it up, go for broke. What I really like here is that with your tasks, you guys have integrated really tightly in the build report. So when this is done, we'll have all sorts of great links on the build report, which can get us that bidirectional link into Octopus and jump right into stuff. And I think that's really nice.
Yep. So
sadly, every area we've had is path errors. It's literally been 2 at a time that we've suffered with the build.
Yeah, that's right. 15. So the create Octopus release step as well, don't need to jump back to it, but there is an option there to deploy as part of that release. So you can just define an environment there to deploy to and miss that deploy Octopus release step. But I like to be a bit more explicit about what you're doing. So if the create release step fails, then you know that there was a problem creating a release as opposed to the deployment step failing. So that was just one of the questions, yeah. What are we looking at?
I don't know, something beeped. I don't know what that was. I guess it was me beeping.
Create a release, there we go.
Yeah.
So if you jump back to Octopus, we might be able to see the deployment when that starts.
I think there it is right there. I think it just did.
12? No, I think 12 was the last one.
Was 12 the last one we did? Nope. This is awesome. This will work.
Oh, that's the one? Okay, great.
Is that it? And no, it's deploying right here. Now it's deploying. There we go.
Now it's deploying. Okay.
There it is, right there. It's working on it. There's my custom note. Brian was here.
Great.
We're not going to have any workouts and commits because I, of course, partied all over it. Post cleanup. All right. So the moment of truth. I you serious? Oh no, wait, I see a spinning. Because we're going to load. Yes! I
Well
won.
done. You won.
All right, so
You
I
beat the
can't
bill.
help it, but I want to do one more really quick. I want to do one more change, just so we can get a work item and an association.
Okay. All right. I'm going to. There's a ton of questions. I think most of them are suggestions actually. So I'm just going to quickly answer as many of those as I can.
All right, I'm going to commit this.
All right.
And get this started. Last update before end of the call. We'll do that. And we'll grab that. And we'll do bold commit all and sync all at once because we have no fear now. All right, let's go over to our builds. I should have a new build queued up. There it is. Okay, the last build. All right, so this is what we're changing. I'm going to change this, so we'll have a new tab ready to go. Go over to Octopus, go to my dashboard. Okay, there's where we have 13. All right, is there anything else I can answer? Hey, we actually got someone who said we did okay there. All right, awesome.
Excellent.
God, I can't believe that 2 characters would cause me so much pain and suffering.
15. See, if you hadn't practiced, then you wouldn't have needed to put 15 at the end, Brian.
That's true. You know, what's the point of practicing anymore? It makes you suffer.
Yeah, exactly right. All right, so I'm just going to run through, see if there are any of these questions. So if you did use a release definition in VSTS to do the deployment, what would be the trigger for the release to start? So normally a release uses a trigger for the build asset. So this is what I was talking about before, the create release step, where you can say do a deployment. That's actually part of the command that gets run. So under the covers, these tasks are just calling octo.exe. So if you're familiar with that, it's a command line tool you can use to talk to Octopus. So under the covers, it's doing a create release, and there's another parameter you can pass along with the create release command to say deploy to this environment. So that's all it's doing ultimately. So it is an explicit hit to the API to say do a deployment as well. So it looks like in there.
Yeah, so here it is. It's deployed. So here's our build information. Here's our commit message. Here's our work items with nice links. It's finishing up doing the deploy. If we come back over here. And once again, this is what I was saying how I like. If I right-click on this, open link in new tab, this will take me straight to that work item. So it looks like it's going to wrap up. It just finished. So now if we come over here, this is the old one. And here's the new one, which should have my update. And there we go. Why don't add 13 to the end? So we got this nice end-to-end experience from build, package, push to Octopus, create the package, and then Octopus is taking care of doing the hard work for us all there.
Awesome. All right. So there's a couple of. So I'm trying to run through these questions. I can't multitask. This is the problem. But a couple of things as well. There is one task that you didn't use during that process, and that's the promote.
Yeah. Let me go back to the build definition.
Yeah. So promote is pretty much what you'd expect, which is take what's in this environment and push it to a new environment. And that can actually be really useful if you wanted to use these steps in release management inside Visual Studio Team Services. So you can actually use any of these steps inside RM as well.
Exactly.
It uses
right.
the same agent, yeah.
Yeah, so you could do some complex orchestration or pipeline setup where you mixed and matched things as you needed them. Exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, so we did the package, we did the push, this got to Octopus, and then we said, you know what, we're just going to cause Team Build to ask on our behalf to tell Octopus just to do the creation of the release and the deployment all in one release is what we did. So we're basically doing it when we don't need extra, approvals or extra checkpoints. We just want the build to do it all. And this is definitely useful for dev environments where the minute you check in, you want to go all the way through to your dev server.
Yep. Awesome. So there's one more thing that we were going to show before we wrapped up, which is
That's right.
Feature.
Yeah, so if we go to dashboards, we'll see Microsoft has this nice dashboard feature in Team Build. And in fact, I can come over here and go back to my code, and I can say, hey, I did the update of the site. That's done. Come back to my dashboard, and I'll see that it reruns those queries. One of the things we often want to do is see the status of our builds as well as our releases. So I can come over here, and if you take a look, I can add a chart for build history. But if I remember correctly, there's now one called Octopus Deploy Status. And this is magically included when I add the Octopus stuff into the Marketplace gallery, Damien?
Mm-hmm. It is, yes. It is now.
So we'll do this. We'll put this up here, and we'll configure our build. And we will configure the Octopus status. And so we'll do the Octopus domain. So it's picking up my connections. So you'll want to have your connections set up. Pick your project and pick your environment. And click OK. And I'll save those. Let's see.
It might need a bump from the size, yeah.
There we go. Voila. So now we see that we're on build 0.14, and we've got our CI build status. If I click that, this will take me over to my server. And there we go. It takes me straight to that deployment. That's pretty awesome. And that, of course, is one of the benefits of having full integration between VSTS and the Octopus Deploy server, as opposed to just letting the build agent do it, right?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, cool. Awesome.
Sweet. Well, that was a lot of stuff to cover, especially with the typos, man. We kind of hammered them with information.
We did. There is one more thing I was going to mention as well, and maybe we can swap screens for that. Let me just...
You want me to stop sharing?
No, I can jump over. I just need to work out how to computer. Change to me. Oh, how am I not a... There we go.
Hey! I see Damien.
See me. All right. So this is the last little bit. We do have a page which gives you a little bit of information about these. So mainly just screenshots of what's available and a link directly to the marketplace too. So that can be pretty handy. Yeah, octopus.com/VSTS. So there are a lot of questions still coming through the meeting. But what I might do is stop the recording and then try and answer them just in the chat window before stopping the actual GoToMeeting, the webinar. But we'll do that out of band, and in the meantime, thanks so much for your time, Brian. Yeah, hopefully that 15 won't bug you in the future with demos.
God, well, it'll be 17 because I'll start doing 2017 demos. That's
yeah.
Because I'm a glutton for punishment. That's the way I do things. I practice and then I screw it up live. That's the way to do it.
That's right. I guess the good thing at least was, inside an hour we've got a couple of build errors, sorted them out, and by the end of it you're still deploying all the way through. Yeah,
which is pretty awesome. And Octopus makes that part really, really simple, which is great.
Cool. Awesome. All right, well, we might wrap that up, and I'll try and answer some of the questions while we're going, but in the meantime, thanks everybody for joining.
Have a great day, folks. Thanks for coming.